Is your demanding work lifestyle in need of fire-resistant clothing that can keep up? Well, L4FR clothing should be your go-to for quality, affordability, safety, and style. L4FR was founded by a third-generation oil field worker who is also a veteran. Thus, this company has a deep appreciation for reliability and longevity, all while we provide first-rate customer service. Our durable apparel will serve you well for many years to come, whether you're working on a pipeline, a lineman climbing utility poles, or in any other environment requiring fire-resistant apparel. L4FR has you covered. Our apparel is tough enough to resist hazardous conditions while still providing high comfort and style. L4FR provides clothing options to ensure your safety and comfort, whether you're on the job or not. To view our complete inventory of flame-resistant garments, please visit our online store at l4frclothing.com or give us a call at 817-757-4935. Si habla español.
Struggling with mobility, chronic pain, work, or sports injury? At Azalea Orthopedics, our team of highly trained physicians specialize in complete orthopedic care, pain management, sports medicine, physical medicine, and rehabilitation. If you've sustained a bone or joint injury, have mobility or movement problems, struggle with pain, contact Azalea Orthopedics. We're conveniently located across East Texas, serving 18 counties. When visiting your doctor, urgent care, or hospital, you have a choice. Demand Azalea. At Azalea Orthopedics, your health is our priority.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the weekly wrap-up show, Week 5. It's your boy, Bret Sweeney, here. Alongside of me in this empty room tonight is Mr. Red Zone, Kyle Owens. How's it going?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. You've been the star lately, man. Every time I turn around, I see you on TV these days.
Listen, man, I'm making my TV and internet debuts, It's going good, though. I'm enjoying it. I think it's fun. I think they've been doing this the past, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years. I don't know how long they've been doing Red Zone Overtime, but they've been doing Red Zone Overtime for 3 or 4 or 5 years. The viewership numbers this year are the highest they've ever been. So I don't know if that's the KO effect or not. Hey, something's working.
Hey, I think might as well take credit for it, right?
Yeah, well, it's awesome, though. I'm having a good time. But I'm also enjoying talking football every week with y'all on here, too. Well, me and you. Well, in the chat, too. Whoever's in the chat.
Eddie will be here, I'm sure. And again, if you're here, make sure you chat with us. We'll integrate you into the show. It's part of our weekly wrap up. We like to hear from you guys as well. Kyle, you did better than me this week. 7-3, right?
Yeah.
I had 6-4, so I'm still above average, as our friend Jeremy would say. He's average. I'm above average, so 6-4. It was a rough week this week.
Well, we got some upsets.
Yeah,
I think anyway. I mean, maybe on paper, maybe they weren't upsets, but in my picks, they were upsets. Like I picked Pine Tree over Marshall, which I think a lot of people did. Looking at it, most of the people did. But like the Pine Tree Marshall one, like the way Marshall had been playing, I didn't expect them to come out and beat Pine Tree. So that was one of the ones I got wrong. And then the ARP West Rusk one, I thought ARP was going to pull it off. But West Rusk was able to get the win there. So a lot of upsets last week, though.
Eddie's here. He's asking if we made everyone's laugh. I don't think so. I think Vince is supposed to be joining us at some point. Hadn't heard from Corey. We'll see if he shows up. Speaking of making him mad, I think Jeremy might have made Corey mad. Kind of telling him where he was on the standings last week.
All the way at the bottom, huh? It was well, not all the way at the bottom. It was way down low.
All right, here we go. We got Jay Washington.
Oh.
Welcome, Jay. 8-2. Better than the
Wow.
professor. Wow. Professor's not here. You better be careful calling out the professor. He's gaining on us a little bit. That's not bad. Jay, good job. I will say for the weekly winner, I'll have to give him credit. My brother, Drew Swinney, was the winner. He had 10 out of 10. He was the only person that got all 10 correct. So shout out to him. I didn't look at the standings. He let me know that before I actually looked at the leaderboard.
Of course.
Jason Shivers continues to lead everyone at 40 right now. There's 5 of us at 37 that are in second place. So
I'm coming though. I'm coming. I'm in 21st place, but it's not as bad as it sounds. I think I'm like 10 games back. I can make that up over the course of the season.
As long as you get your picks in, unlike some folks that don't get their picks submitted.
Yeah. Oh look, my boy Jake went 7-3 too. See?
And we got Jonathan Bradshaw here. Welcome, Jonathan. Jake, 7-3. All right. You must be copying your picks too. Him and Eddie are copying your picks, Kyle. If they get the same one, it must be. We got it's Derek again. Was the Beast Meets Live say we do that? We record that over the weekend, and it goes live every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. We have the YouTube video version, and we also have a audio on the Power Podcast platform. And you can get both of those on the app if you have that, Derek. So that's a good question. I was really surprised in some, like you said, Kyle. There's also some games that I wasn't surprised at the outcome. I was surprised at the differential of the games. Like I was thinking some of these games might be closer. They were big blowouts. Some games I thought would be blowouts, but were closer. Let's start with the first one. Game 1, McKinney over Tyler High, 31-26. I actually went out to Rose Stadium and checked this one out. McKinney got off to a really good start. They got the ball first, went down, scored, onside kicked right out of the box.
Ooh.
Talking about some cojones, I'd say. Got the
onside fortitude.
Yeah, got the onside kick and scored. So it was 14-0 right out of the box. Now, the rest of the game was pretty even. As far as it was back and forth. McKinney, I think they led at one point 31-7, and then Tyler High came back. But a lot of penalties were affecting Tyler High. They had some dumb sportsmanlike conduct penalties. You know, the things that you can't have happen in a big game like that. They had happened. Now the last play, or I'd say the last big play, Tyler High actually had a chance. They threw a pass complete and was a touchdown to take the lead. Called back for illegal man downfield. I've yet to see the film.
I watched the game. I went back and watched it on the stream after I found out that was the penalty call, because the way I was watching it had no audio. We won't get into that. But so I didn't know what the call. I saw the ineligible downfield, but I was like, I couldn't see it. So I went back and I watched it the next day. Yes, he was down. He was a good 3 or 4 yards downfield when the ball was thrown. Okay, so it was a legitimate call. It's unfortunate, but it's a legit call. So for everybody blaming the refs, that's another thing I saw last week. A lot of online chatter of these refs are horrible and they cost us the game. Listen, I agree that refs they're not the best. They don't always get the call right. They're humans too. They don't always get the right call. But I'm not for blaming a game on the refs, because there are plenty of other opportunities in that game that you could have won the game. So you can't blame a game on the refs. Do they make it harder? Absolutely. But you can't say, oh, we lost because of the refs. If the refs were better, we would have won. No, if you would have made more plays, you would have won. Yeah. So if Tyler High wouldn't have got down 24-10, then maybe they would have been able to win that game and wouldn't have had to make such a big comeback. But but it was a legit call at the end of the game. It's unfortunate because I was hyped up when I saw him score. I'm like, yes. Then I saw the flag. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. I was looking for one, honestly, from being at that game the entire night. It just seemed like when they would get some momentum, then they would go out there and this penalty wasn't one of those, a sportsmanlike or those kind of, but still mistakes. You can't, in those kind of games, you can't make mistakes. It was a very high stakes game. And we talked about this district. It's going to be really close between you've got Lancaster, who starts off rough, but they played Longview pretty well. So you're going to see them find their way in there. You've got McKinney North. You have Forney, who's playing really well right now. So you look at Tyler High and Lufkin, and you're like, I don't think both those teams are getting in. They might be playing for that fourth spot, possibly, if that.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down probably to, I believe, Longview and Forney in a couple of weeks for that district title. You could put them 1-2, and then, like you said, maybe McKinney North at that 3 spot. So then, yeah, Tyler High, West Mesquite, Lufkin, I think they're all kind of fighting for that 4th spot. It's going to be interesting. That it makes those games important, which is a big deal now, especially with Tyler High playing Lufkin, making it a big game. Like, that's with the playoff implications on the line. That's what you love to see. That's what you want.
Yeah, it could be one of the biggest games in the area whenever that game is. But I think the overall thing I got out of Tyler High, the thing I saw that we talked about is the fact that they were down and they didn't quit. They stayed in the game, even with the mistakes and the penalties. They still were able to fight back in the game. I think the old Tyler High might have thrown in the towel at halftime and said, "Oh, we're done," and they wouldn't have gave any effort in the second half. So.
Well, that's what I was talking to Coleman about that this week or last week, and I said, I think I actually said this on Red Zone Overtime that a game like that 2 years ago, even last year, but 2 or 3 years ago, that 24-7 at halftime, the final score would have been 52-7 or 52-. It would have been a blowout. But Tyler High, like we've talked about this season under Coach Woods, they have shown a lot of fight. That old Cujo spirit coming back where they're fighting. They're not going to be an easy out. They're not going to be easy out for anybody. And so that's, again, if you want to take a positive from a loss, that's the positive, that they never gave up. They fought and nearly won that game. Probably should have won that game.
Mm-hmm. I think at times they did outplay McKinney North. So that's going to be tough. That district will continue to watch that as we move on. But there's going to be some battling there for 2 through 5, I think is going to be even 6. I mean, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's going to be a dogfight every week, but that's going to make that district exciting to watch and keep up with.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you had Tyler High as well, Kyle. That was one of your misses. Yes. I think a lot of people had Tyler High. Looking back at the pick'ems, I believe they were actually favored to win as far as the picks go.
60-12.
We had 72 picks this week, pickers this week. So another good number for our pick'em challenge. Let's try to get 100 this week. So tell all your friends about it. We want to try to get around 100 every week to get the picks in. So game 2, Sulphur Springs 52-34 over Liberty Aloe. This was one that I also missed. Man, I thought Liberty Aloe coming off that game before that, I thought they'd show me something. Sulphur Springs, I wasn't sure how good they were. I know they barely squeaked by Jacksonville. We've talked about how Jacksonville is not as strong this year. And so I wasn't sure about them, but they showed me something as they knocked off Liberty Aloe, which they played a tough schedule. Liberty Aloe has. And so that win over Atlanta I guess it was the week before last, was impressive to me. But again, I think they're just not as good as Sulphur Springs, I guess, because Sulphur Springs laid their claim as they're looking to get that one of those playoff spots.
Yeah, I picked Sulphur Springs. I kind of figured they would win. We talked about it last week and on that on the Beast from the East podcast as well. I just think Sulphur Springs is the better team. I mean, look at them now. They're on a 3-game win streak with wins over Hallsville, Van Alstyne, and now Liberty Aloe. So their one loss to Mount Pleasant, it's not a great loss to have. And again, the wins aren't over impressive teams, but they're winning. They're doing what they're supposed to do. So, that district's going to be interesting with Sulphur Springs and with Paris and Anna and how they're playing right now. Communities who they have coming up in a couple of weeks. It'll be interesting to see what they do. But yeah, Sulphur Springs, just a couple of years ago in 2019, 2020, and 2021 had horrible seasons. 1-9, a 2-4 season in the COVID year, and then 0-10 in 2021. Went 7-4 last season, made the playoffs, and 4-1 this year. So a turnaround's happening in Sulphur Springs.
Well, another thing that's helping Kyle is the drop down to 4A.
Yes.
And I talked about this. I was on the show this week with Terry Bennett on Sideline to Sideline. He had a special edition. Matt Diggs had a segment, and I was on there for East Texas. And we talked about Sulphur Springs, and we talked about how Jacksonville and Sulphur Springs dropped down 2 years ago. And him and Grant said that one of those teams would take advantage of it. And it's been Sulphur Springs. They have Jacksonville just hasn't looked like a team that used to be in 5A dropped to 4A. It just hasn't worked well for them, but it has worked out for Sulphur Springs. And I think they're looking at another playoff spot this season.
Yeah, and the way that Sulphur Springs is winning, the way they won that game, the quarterback Brady Driver through the air, he had 189 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's a good game. But the rushing attack, 314 yards on the ground for Sulphur Springs. That's 9.2 yards per carry on the ground against Liberty Ilo. So
yeah,
there's Eddie. If you could,
Eddie said this. He had the same thing. They couldn't stop it. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. If Sulphur Springs can run the football, then you can beat a lot of teams if you can run the football effectively.
Hey, it's our hooks man, Chris. Welcome, Chris.
What's up, Chris?
He said LE's not good.
Yeah,
so a lot of turmoil going on.
You don't like to see that.
Derek says Anna whips on everyone. Anna's pretty good this year. They are. Let's see who else. Jonathan said he had Sulphur Springs. So I think Eddie must have not copied you because he had LE in this one. I think he went too homerish on this pick.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't have. I didn't think Liberty Ilo. Honestly, I'm surprised they scored 34. Honestly, that was the surprising part.
I was hoping that the talent as far as the athletes on the field would kind of propel them on this one. It wasn't LE as much as I just wasn't sold on Sulphur Springs, but I feel like now they're a solid team. That's a good win because LE's always going to have good athletes up there.
Oh yeah. They always have great athletes. They just got to put it together. That's been their problem, is not being able to put it all together at once.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of Jackson, we just talked about it. The next game 3, Athens over Jacksonville, 48-28, and Athens is taking a claim for a playoff spot. Kyle, I mean, this is a big win. They were able to beat Jacksonville by 20, and so I know we talked how Jacksonville's down, and they've got a big game, and we talked about it on the Beast from the East. They got a big game against Lindale this week, but that's an impressive start for Athens as they look to try to get one of those playoff spots.
Athens is playing good football right now. Their one loss the start of the year to Brownsboro by a point. I think maybe if those two teams met again, maybe Athens wins that one now. Because you can't, that first week game, you never know what's going to happen that first week. But after that, rattled off 4 in a row. They're going to have a tough one in Lindale this Friday night. I'm looking forward to that game. I think it's going to be a really good game. Pick the computer. Well,
why didn't you do it, Eddie?
Let AI take over and just ask AI who you should pick.
We need to find this computer. I need this computer, please.
The supercomputer. But yeah, Athens has a really good football team. Lindale and Athens this Friday night will be a really good game. Athens did what they should against Jacksonville. Jacksonville 0-5. That's I didn't think Jacksonville would be, burning doors down coming in this season, but I didn't expect them to be 0-5 out the gate.
No.
So it's a little interesting seeing what's going on in Jacksonville.
I thought they'd be fighting for that 4th spot. Honestly, I thought it was between Palestine, Henderson, and Jacksonville preseason was, but now Athens has said, no, don't forget about us.
Yeah, Athens. I'm telling you this. You could potentially say that this Athens Lindale game could decide the 3,
third?
maybe 4 seed. Yeah, third seed maybe in that district.
And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. I mean, I don't think Lindale, the difference between them and that 4, 5, 6 is as big as it has been in the past. No,
I think 3 down is very, very close together. Like I think even Jacksonville, they could go out there and pull something out. You never know. Like it's that whole district top to bottom is just kind of, you got Chapel Hill and Kilgore that kind of separated themselves, and everybody else is like, hey, let's fight it out for 2 spots.
Yeah. Welcome, Travis, to the show. He said Athens with the upset. I don't necessarily think it's an upset, honestly. Athens has been playing well this year. I think maybe an upset in some people's minds, but I don't think Athens went in there thinking that they were going to lose. I think they had every audacity to think they had the better team going in.
Yeah, I
So
mean they do have the better record going
yeah,
in, but I think I understand why he's calling it an upset though.
Jacksonville's probably their schedule is tougher, and they've played tougher competition than Athens probably overall. I mean, I
Yeah,
think
but
looking at Jacksonville, they played what they played White House, they played Sulphur Springs, which is we've found out they're pretty good. Who else did they play? Did they play Nacogdoches? No, they played Pine Tree, didn't they?
I just had it pulled up. I don't remember.
I had it pulled up a second ago, but I lost
I'd
it.
already closed it out.
Yep, they had White House, Crandall, Longview, Pine Tree, Athens, Sulphur Springs. Yeah, I mean Pine Tree. We know how good they've played this year. They've been pretty solid as a 5A. White House is good. Sulphur Springs is obviously very good. They got a Crandall team that's uh, beat Kaufman and also Jacksonville. They lost to Forney, but Forney's really good. But I mean, I think the schedule was tougher, but I still think this is not really surprising. Eddie says they're projected 2-8, so I mean,
who's the 2 wins over?
Yeah, I don't know.
You look at the rest of the schedule. Henderson, maybe.
I think probably if I was going to say preseason, I would have said Athens and Henderson.
Yeah,
but now so I don't know.
I don't know where those 2 wins are going to come from.
Eddie says they were not projected to win any. So
they've had a really good year.
Well, and Coach Harrell's a good coach out there in Athens. He's got the pedigree. That Harrell name, means something. So I think that's the key. They're real young, and I think they'll continue to get better. I think last year Vince had said that they thought they were going to be good. Maybe it was just a year too early because they've been a really good team this year.
Yeah, they've turned things on. I'm excited to see what they do Friday night. That's one of the games I'm looking forward to.
I just spoke him into existence as he joins you.
Hey.
We just talking about you, Vince. Oh, we got a little echo.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you got a little echo going.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
That fixed it.
We were just talking about Athens, how you were talking about Athens last year, and I think you just were 1 year early. We're talking about this Athens win over Jacksonville.
Oh, well, I mean, like Jeremy said, Jacksonville's not really good. They're not good. And I mean, Athens is still good. Don't get me wrong. Athens is a good team, but Jacksonville, I don't know. I don't know what they're missing. I don't know what it is that they don't have, but man, it's really hurting them a lot. So
Eddie's here. He said he's been taking up for you, Vince.
Oh, I appreciate that, Eddie. I appreciate you.
Travis is here, is one of our new listeners. Giving the history of Athens football, they're definitely a better team this year. Yeah, I would definitely say so. I mean, I think this game coming up is one of the biggest games in a long time in Athens football. This one against Lindale. I don't want to hype it up too much, but that's going to figure out where they sit in this district, I think. Vince, we've talked about the McKinney, Texas, or Tyler High game and the Sulphur Springs Liberty Aloe. Is there anything you want to add to those before we move on to the next one?
Nah, I'll just go ahead and move on. I'm sure y'all elaborated on it. I mean, you were at the Tyler High game, so I know you probably had a good opinion as to what happened out there. I heard that, like, even though they lost, that it was they did fight back and could have won the game. So I don't know much about the Liberty Aloe game personally, but me and you talked a little bit about it, about the Tyler High game and stuff. What you saw out there.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it. We definitely saw a different team. Watching it back, as far as like last year, it would have been they would have given up at halftime and not fought back. So it's kind of the theory. And actually, the penalty at the end, Kyle did get to go back and see it, and it was legit. It was a ineligible player downfield. So
he was a good 3.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and it happens. you know. But to me, I don't really like to use this term a lot, but I feel like it was a good loss because, and I say that because you were getting your butts whooped, and instead of quitting, you did the complete opposite. You fought back. That right there, I think, put everybody in the district on notice. Like they're gonna be hard to put away. They're not gonna quit just because you up 30. You know, that's not gonna be enough. So I think the district is the whole district is probably planning for him. Let's be honest. The whole district is probably planning for him at this point.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Well, game four here. Game four, the game we were at, Vince, as Brook Hill beat Atlanta 28-18. Man, we talked about this a little bit on the Brook Hill podcast, and if you're missing the Fire the Cannon podcast that Coach Jeremy Hubbard puts out each and every week on Mondays, usually sometimes Tuesdays, depending on the week, you're missing out. He does a really great job with it. I had the opportunity to be on there with him a little bit this week as they had some senior activities that's something new at private schools. They take a whole week and it's like a senior trip week and it's a bye week and everything basically kind of shuts down for athletic wise. And so I got to talk to him a little bit, but go back and listen to those episodes. He does a really good job. You get to hear from the coaches each and every week. Sometimes me or Vince or whoever's doing the games will try to jump on and talk to Coach Hubbard, and we'll discuss that. We talked to Coach Ryle, the head football coach, volleyball coach, Mika Hubbard's on, and Josiah White, cross country coach. So just a plug on that. So Vince, tell me what you thought about Brook Hill. I know we've talked about it numerous times about the game, but give us your thoughts on the game from Friday night.
Friday night's game, Brook Hill. It was very exciting. We got to see good defense. We got to see new revitalized offense. And then we got some special teams. You know, my boy Zigby, Zig is what I call him. Ziggs. I'm still trying to figure out which one fit better. But man, he got a leg on him. He's got a foot on him. And I mean, he kicked a 50-yarder, I think, Bret, the first time, and they said it was no good. It looked good from us, from what we saw, but they said it was no good. But I mean, man, it was just exciting because when he kicked it, like it was a 50-yarder, and I think it went probably 20 yards past the goalpost. You know, like
it wasn't like a distance that it missed.
Nah, it wasn't that at all. And so luckily he had another shot at it later on in the game, and he nailed it. I mean, absolutely nailed it. And I think I have never been more excited watching a field goal like that, you know, a kick like that.
What about the onside kick, Vince?
And the onside, and the onside kick. I forgot about that one. Yeah, man, it was just a great game, man.
When you got a kicker that's kicking the ball 5 yards deep in the end zone, and the first thing you do is you just turn around and go chase it, and then he kicks it to himself.
It's like it. It's almost like the defender. I don't know what the defender was thinking. I say defender, the guy receiving the kick. I don't really know. I think he was kind of scared and hesitant. And so by the time he decided to commit to grabbing the ball, Ziggs was already there. It's like he kicked it and he ran directly to it and just swallowed it up.
He just snagged it with that long arm. He's 6'4". I mean,
it was crazy. I was like, man, like, when have you seen a kicker do that? Like, he went and recovered his own kick.
He did a Pat McAfee. He did the onside kick and recovered it himself.
Yeah. Well, and he's special. I mean, they gave him a belt. They were celebrating the sidelines. Mm-hmm. The defense was excellent all night. You had the block punt early to set up a touchdown
the block punt,
in the first quarter. Atlanta played good. They had a couple of plays where they broke out.
They did.
They had some speed at tailback. And I think like 3 plays, and they were probably 50-plus yard play. Everything else, though, Brook Hill pretty much kept in front of them and were able to contain the speed of Atlanta. So, looking at this game, though, I think I had Brook Hill. Did everyone here have Brook Hill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all had Brook Hill in this one. I'm interested to see what you guys had in the chat. Because I think it was a decently even poll there. I think it was 32 people had Brook Hill and 40 had Atlanta. So so I think that oh, look, even Eddie took our Brook Hill guard. Wow,
Okay.
and Atlanta's one of his backyard teams. He must know something about that. So, but yeah, I think this game was a springboard into Brook Hill's district season, so they'll be ready to roll. Game 5, this might have been the surprise of the night as far as the score differential, as Lindale found some defense and won 56-7. Kyle, Lindale's Matador defense played well.
I think they were listening to you, Kyle. I think they was. Yeah,
I hope so.
I really think you might have made them mad.
That's fine. Whatever motivation they need.
Yeah.
Looking at the stats, though, they did do good defensively. They held the Henderson quarterback Smiley to just 71 yards on the night, 9 of 22 passing for 71 yards and 2 interceptions. They did let a running back, Starling, go over 100 yards. He had 14 carries for 107, but they only gave up 166 on the ground and 71 through the air. So, yes, and only 1 touchdown. So, yes, absolutely. Lindale's defense showed up and showed out, and that's what they're going to need to do this week too against Athens. So I was surprised at the score. I figured Lindale would win. I picked Lindale, but I was surprised at the differential. I figured Lindale would put up points, but I figured Henderson would put up some points too. Well, Jake, yeah, there you go. And defense win you championships. So
I found out some inside information. I did, of course, like I said, I did the show with Terry, and we talked about Henderson. He does there's a Henderson show. So those of you that are Henderson fans in East Texas, on L4 Media, they do a coach's show each week for Henderson. Evidently, their center was injured and was out. We all know how that can affect an offense if you have to replace that. You don't talk about center much, but that's an important combination with the center quarterback exchange. And they had several other injuries, so I think that played as part of the score factor, maybe a little more than what we had thought. But shout out to Lindale, great job. I mean, you show up and you play whoever they have. So,
and Eddie, I see that, but here's the thing: when it was already so high, it's got to be coming down. Look, it was like 46 last week, so we're good. We're headed in the right direction.
It's coming down, yeah.
It's coming down. Now it could spike back up this week against Athens. Who knows? But if that defense shows up again, I think Lindale needs to have a couple of good defensive games before they get they get Athens, then they have to go to Kilgore, and then Chapel Hill comes to Lindale back-to-back weeks. So you better shore up your defense now.
It's not getting easier.
No, you gotta shore up that defense now.
He's watching. He says, "Okay, all right." So game 6, Longview 52, Lancaster 35. I'm not surprised that Longview won. Obviously, they're the best team in that district by far, we think. But Lancaster played them tough. I mean, 17 points. It's the closest that anybody's played them here recently, besides the one they lost, I think. Guys, Lancaster is one team that's going to be in that mix for those playoffs. I think you got Longview up top, and then your next ones are McKinney North, Lancaster. You got Tyler High, you've got Lufkin, and you got Forney. I think those are your playoff contenders there. A couple of those are going to get left out.
Yeah, I think Lancaster's down a little bit. I think they're down a little bit this year. So I think Longview giving up that many points kind of surprised me. With 35 points to Lancaster's a little much, I think, but they didn't do it through the air either. They did it on the ground. Taylor Tatum, the OU commit, how about 250 on the ground by Taylor Tatum and 3 touchdowns. Andrew Tutt, not good through the air, 2 for 9 for 35 yards and a touchdown, but he didn't need to be. Taylor Tatum controlled the game. So it was a good game for Longview, but I think, again, it's kind of the theme of the night. The defense just needs to shore up a little bit. We saw the defense against Lufkin, how they shut out Lufkin, who had another really good running back, Keedron Young. but they shut out Lufkin and then gave up 35 to Lancaster. So just need to shore up the defense a little bit. But Longview's offense can definitely, when Tatum's rolling like that, Longview's going to be hard to stop.
This game was our lock of the week, by the way. 72 out of 72 people picked Longview.
Okay. So, well, there's a free win for everybody.
That was the game of the week lock. So, I don't think anybody's surprised by that one. The next one on the schedule, I wasn't surprised. Kilgore 37-7 over Palestine. I thought it might be a little closer. Palestine's been trending up a little bit, but I think it just goes to show how good Kilgore's defense is. And Palestine also, they struggle on throwing the ball. So if they get behind, then I'm sure Kilgore was just clamping in and just blitzing like none other. I'm sure because they're not built to, as far as the way their offense is constructed, for a comeback.
Very true. That's very true. Once you get somebody out of their rhythm, if you're a good running team, if that's what your core is, you got to play from ahead in a way, right? Because if you get not really that you play from ahead, but you can't get too far behind because now you have to play outside of your realm of play. Like everybody starts to think, okay, now I got to throw the football. Now, I mean, honestly, if I was a coach, I'd probably be looking more heavily on my defense. Like, well, let's try to make a stop, and then we can continue to do what we do. But as far as running the ball, but nobody thinks like that. Everybody thinks I got to throw. And what ends up happening is you get far behind, and then you start doing something you haven't practiced all year, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, And teams like Kilgore are going to punish you for that, They are really good defensively. So, yeah, but I mean, it was. I felt like it was expected. I just think Kilgore. I don't want to say they're sneaky good. I just don't know how good they are yet. I think the only challenge
that last game of the season.
Exactly. We don't. I don't. Their only challenge to me right now is gonna be Chapel Hill.
Hey Vince, who's calling that game?
Is that gonna be me and you?
Me and you.
Is that us?
Game
right
11, there. Or week 11.
That's what we're gonna be doing.
I'm there for that one too.
We'll be in Chapel Hill. Hey, the trifecta.
Well,
it's gonna be a good game. I think it should be a good game. I want it to be a good. Well,
okay. So
I want Chapel Hill to win, but
Lancaster.
Okay, Jonathan. Well, that makes sense.
That does make better sense. Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Okay.
So Kilgore, I'm gonna have to disagree with you a little bit, Vince. The only part I'm gonna disagree on is I think Kilgore is gonna have a test with Lindale. I think Lindale will test them. It's going to be their toughest test in district until Chapel Hill, until the end of the season. I think you'll see a little bit more.
I just don't trust Lindale, man. I can't do it. Like, a year or two ago, I said the same thing, but now I'm just like, nah, man. I just don't see it. I want to see it. I want to see it just like you, KO. I do. But what I'm seeing out of
I need another.
I don't like what I'm seeing out of Lindale.
I need another performance from Lindale like last week. I need to see.
That was the best performance Lindale gave this whole year.
If Lindale can go out and dominate Athens, or win by a substantial margin,
if they do that to Athens, hey, then
we got a game.
Now I'm talking weeks.
Maybe we fix something on defense. One game. I think, okay, we'll see if it's a pattern.
We know Henderson doesn't have the most explosive offense. So I want to Athens will be a test. Athens will be the test. So we'll have to see. But I'm with you. I think Kilgore is very, very good.
I've been talking about Kilgore a lot lately because I love defensive games. I love defensive teams. I love teams that really know how to defend, and they make you really dive deep into your playbook to find a way to get out of there, right? And I've been saying this a lot about Kilgore to a lot of different people. I just feel like when you're that good defensively, you don't have to put up a lot of points. We just look at that as you're a good team when you can drop 40 on a team or 50 or 60 or even 70 like Chapel Hill and Center are doing to people. But to be honest with you, man, we gotta give some respect to defensive teams that hold teams all the time to around 20.
Bro,
Or
only
less.
given up 16. They're only giving 13 a game, but they've only given up 16 in the last 3 games.
You got to put some respect on that. Yeah, you got to put some respect. We got to start putting the same respect on that stat.
Absolutely.
Like we do for those offenses that put up 60 and 70.
I think I said it last week. Offense sells tickets. Defense wins championships. Yeah, that's a hill I'll die on.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
You got to have a good defense because you're going to have to get a stop eventually. At some point, you're going to have to stop somebody.
Yeah.
So why not just stop them the whole game?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know who's doing it on that defense. I can't wait till that game comes up. I don't know who's doing on defense, but I want to find out.
We'll find out there. Last game of the season. Game 8. Another one that I was really surprised by. And I don't know if maybe I was drinking too much of the CM Kool-Aid in this one, but Marshall over Pine Tree, 31-13. Man, Marshall looks good. They're I think they're on track for a competition there with White House, maybe at that top 3 spot. Maybe it's a 4. I don't know. See how good Nacogdoches ends up. But yeah, Eddie did the same thing. He's not here. I'm gonna give Corey a hard time. No, he knows I'm just joking with him. But I bought what Corey was selling with Pine Tree a little too much then, and it ain't biting me this next week. I'm off the Pine Tree train for right now. They bit me, and man, 31-13. I thought even if Pine Tree lost, I thought this would be a little more competitive. I saw a stat somewhere where Marshall was like 8-0 in the last 8 trips to, was it Maverick Stadium East? They called it, or West, or whatever it is. They're calling Pine Tree Stadium theirs. Like that's an impressive stat. So, it looks like Eddie had this one. Looks like this was one of Jay's losses. I don't know. I was just expecting a little more.
I didn't do the actual physical picks, but I actually have them written down from when we did the show, and so I picked Pine Tree too. I thought Pine Tree. I was drinking that Kool-Aid, but I think I feel like I'm about ready to hop off of that because I think this was the pick that I picked Marshall, and then I went back and I said, man, I don't know. Corey might be right, and I went back and I said, no, I'm gonna go with Pine Tree. And I said, I hope it don't bite me. And it bit me. Yeah.
Yeah. I went with Pine Tree too. I just thought looking at when we were making the picks, looking at Marshall's schedule and how they've performed, like their one win was over Henderson, which we've established is not having the greatest season. So, I mean, but their losses were to Tyler High, Longview, and Carthage, which are 3 very good football teams. But the only game they were really competitive in was the Tyler High one. So looking at that, and then how Pine Tree had been close in all their games, and I hopped on the Pine Tree bandwagon as well. But I hopped.
And I remember we talked about that because I remember saying how I felt like, because I was at that Marshall Tyler High game, and I said, man, they didn't do nothing until that overtime. That pick 6 led them into that overtime, and they kept going back and forth. But there was 3.5 quarters where Marshall did nothing, and that's why I said that's why I'm going with Pine Tree. That's what sold me on Pine Tree. I said, nah, I don't think Marshall's that good.
It was you and Corey, both of you.
I talked myself into it. Yeah. So, but I'm off that now. So.
Vince said he's off that narcotic. He ain't doing it no more.
Yeah, I'm off that drug now. I'm good. I'm clean. I'm clean.
Yeah. Eddie says Marshall is one of the toughest preseason schedules. I could see that. I mean, it's a pretty tough schedule they have.
But yes, it is. But you got to be competitive in it. I remember a couple of years ago, Gladewater had one of those. They still do, but had one of those really tough non-district schedules. But they just weren't competitive in any of those games. And I'm like, that's great. I'm all for scheduling tough non-district opponents to get you ready for district. I would rather my team go through a tough non-district schedule and be 0-5 than a cupcake schedule and be 5-0 headed into district. So I'm all for that, but you got to be competitive in them. Like you got to make some moves in it. You can't just get blown out in every one of them because that does nobody any good.
Yeah. Next one up, game 9. White House squeaks one out over Nat, 35-32. this is another one that I thought White House might handle. But this shows how good NAC's playing right now. I mean, they were tough. They fought hard against Chapel Hill. Vince, we saw them, and we saw a lot of their front seven was pretty impressive to me when they played Chapel Hill. They contained Stewart and Risman as good as you can almost ask for at times during the game. Of course, they finally popped out and did something, but Nacogdoches, this loss tells me a lot. I know Kyle didn't like the loss; it's telling you a lot. I think it tells you that they're a lot closer to the top of the district, maybe than maybe even what we thought.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I hate that. That was a good game. I hate that for Nacogdoches. Let me say it like that. I hate it for Nacogdoches because they really are a good team. I really do think that they're a good team. And having to play Chapel Hill and then turn around having to play White House, it just sucks when you know you have a good team and you playing great teams right now. And as
They
a
played
coach,
Lufkin too.
yeah. And as a coach, it's like, what do you say to your kids who are good at what they do, you know, but it just ain't enough to get over that hump. It's like, what do you say to them at this time? Because you can't lose them mentally, right? So, but again, that was a good game. Shout out to White House. They took care of business. They did, and I said they were probably looking to get some revenge after last year. I don't know what it is about that matchup, but it's something about that. I'm not saying it's White House kryptonite, but man, it just seems like as many teams as White House has put away in the last 2 years, Nacogdoches is a problem.
Yeah, I was surprised the game was as close as it was, but when you look at the stats of it, it really was Nac probably should have won that game. White House had a big second quarter where they scored 21. Other than that, it was pretty much all Nac. And the quarterback for Nac, Lockett, had 249 through the air, 3 tutties. They had 195 on the ground. Like they played well enough to win the game. And to your point, Vince, it's disappointing for Nacogdoches to play that well and end up losing.
Yeah, well, they've got a big one this week. Nac and Pine Tree. That one could be for that 4th spot.
That is the KLTV and KTRE Red Zone game of the week.
Oh,
Nacogdoches, Pine
Tree. Is that where you're going to be?
No, I'm not going to Nacogdoches. They got Mark Bounds down there in Nac. So, but the 2 special teams. See, so but it may have been mistakes that White House did, but Nac was able to capitalize on them. So I don't know, man. I like what Nac's got going right now. I'm interested to see how they do against Pine Tree this week. They are in a part of their schedule where they could rack up some wins and get into the playoffs. They got Pine Tree, then they got Hallsville, and then they got Mount Pleasant. They could rack up 3 wins right here in district play. It'd be sitting pretty with Texas High and Marshall to end the season. So Nac's got an opportunity right now.
Yep. And thanks for Robbie for joining us tonight. Maybe his first comment with us. I don't remember seeing you, but thanks for joining us. So we appreciate the input. But yeah, I think Nacogdoches is right there, man. I think you're looking at the district. You see Texas High, I think, like at the top. You see White House right there. And you got Marshall now, I think, put themselves. We're talking about that. They're up there in that 3rd spot, maybe. And you got Nac, Pine Tree, and Mount Pleasant? Because Hallsville hasn't looked very good. So I mean, it's good. There's going to be some interesting matchups over the next few weeks. But I really think that Pine Tree, Nacogdoches, I think right now is that 4th spot. Very, very well could be. I mean,
This one's kind of similar to the 9-4A district, the Chapel Hill, Kilgore, Lindale district. You kind of have 2 teams at the top with Texas High. Texas High kind of separated from all of them. And then White House kind of solidified at that number 2. And then it's kind of a free-for-all with some teams with, Nac, Mount Pleasant, Pine Tree, at Marshall, Hallsville.
I think Marshall's kind of like the Lindale of that district. Do you think they're now? I think they're probably the 3rd team, but any given night, I think one of those other teams could beat them.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun district to watch too. I'm so excited when district starts because now these games matter and the intensity picks up a little bit. We kind of go into that second half of the season like, okay, let's get rolling now.
Yeah, every game means something. Speaking of a game that means something, our game 10 Wes Rusk must have heard us talking about ARP. They put the shallywhacking on my ARP Tigers, 49-19. Man, Wes Rusk showed up, was ready to play.
Actually, I looked at all of my picks here from week 5. I had them written down here. Just to show you, I don't know if y'all can't see that. That's all right. But I know, like I said, I missed my thing, but I missed only 3. And 2 of these 3 were 2 that I changed. I'm gonna stop changing my mind no more. I'm gonna stop trusting my gut, because that's what happened to me. That's what we was talking about, trusting my gut. Yeah. And that's when I went with the pine tree thing. I ain't doing that no more. My gut been lying to me lately. But West Rusk, that one I'm not talking about ARP. I know ARP is good. I just felt like West Rusk was gonna be tough to beat.
This phone call is for you,
and they
man?
proved me right. They proved me right.
Smink Dog online.
Oh, tell him I call him back.
I'm busy.
Tell Sminky I call him back. Yeah, tell him I call him back, Smink Dog.
Look, when you look at these stats, though, ARP had a problem stopping the run. West Rusk ran for 320. 320.
All over them.
And here's the problem. In that district, that's a running district. Like Edgewood runs the football. Winona runs the football. Grand Saline runs the football
too.
Quitman runs the football. Troop runs the football. They all run the football. So if you can't stop the run, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Now,
and that was your first district game too. So now you got to think like, okay, Edgewood, they do run the football, but at the same time, we don't really know how.
We don't know what they are since they lost to Winona.
Yeah, we don't know what they are. They lost a lot of people, but you still got Troop in that district. Grand Saline's pretty.
They're gonna run. My point though, they're gonna run the football. They may not be. They may not be as good as West Rusk, but they're still gonna run the football.
Yeah.
So now it kind of seems like it's gonna be West Rusk Troop for the district title now.
I wouldn't count ARP out.
Well, I'm just saying as far as like the way it's looking right now. You've got. Unless they come out and they beat Troop, and we could end up with some kind of 3-way.
That's what they need to do. They'll probably. I don't know. I don't like to guarantee wins. They might walk through Winona and Grand Saline, but when they get the Troop, that's a mile marker.
Hey Vince,
right there. They have to win that
Grand Saline game. Where can you find that ARP Grand Saline game in 2 weeks?
That's gonna be on this website, this app called NetSN.
Yeah,
have you heard about that?
Yeah, we're gonna have that Grand Saline ARP game here. So I think that'll be a good one. I will say the surprising upset special of the week was the West Rusk Raiders over the ARP Tigers. Only 19 people out of 72 picked West Rusk.
Well, I think that's just because of kind of how West Rusk has looked this year. They beat Sabine and Mineola. That was their wins coming in, and losses to Tatum and Malakoff that weren't really close. So it's kind of hard to get a gauge on what West Rusk is this year.
Are they a up and down team?
It's tough to say. I don't. And this could be.
Wow.
This could be a game where ARP just played bad. It could be a game where ARP played bad.
Yeah, and I will say this too. When I picked West Rusk, a lot of it had to do with how they beat ARP last year. They kind of blew ARP out last year, and I know that's last year. And I don't like to hold on to the past, but it's something about, and I can't figure this out. I can't show it to you and quantify it. But like, it's something about these teams who know each other well, these district games, and their mindset around playing each other. We talked about it before with Chapel Hill and Kilgore. And I used to tell Bret and Corey, I'm like, man, like I remember when we played White House every single year. And no matter how good we were, the papers, everybody was slanting, saying, hey, Chapel Hill got this win. We would show up, we get out there, and for some reason, mentally, we could not get over that hump. And I just thought to myself, I wonder if this is that hump for them. Because that game, they scored 35 last year, but it was like 56 or something like that to 35. And I was just wondering, I was like, I wonder if this is one of those milestones for them. like one of those things that they got to check that off the box.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to go off, if you base it off that, then I mean, Art got destroyed by Grand Saline last year. You know what I mean? But like like you said,
another one.
But like you said, though, the teams are different this season. I mean, you got different.
They are different. They are. I don't know. I was speculating. That's all.
Yeah.
I was just speculating.
Oh, they got
especially being the district game.
Like Jonathan says, they've got a ton of injuries, so it could be.
Listen,
what did he say? All linebacker and running backs.
Yeah. I mean, that's tough. Everybody's dealing with injuries, though. I mean,
yeah.
The linebackers not being there could. I mean, there's your answer to
that. Could be the answer for the run game. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Oh,
but you got to give kudos to West Russ too. I mean, they've maybe heard the talk too that they don't think we're as good. Okay,
well you've got a new head coach, Coach Mata. His first year, he's been there, but it's his first year as head coach, so it may take them a little time to get things going the way he wants them. I'm sure there's some changes at some point. I mean, a lot of it's probably the same. He was the offensive coordinator, but there could be some defensive adjustments and such. And so, I think honestly, I'm excited to see this district too. I think is another one that's going to be really, really a good one. You've got a lot of teams in there that can make the playoffs in this district. I think even more than last year.
Yeah. And then maybe he knew something we didn't. Maybe he knows that ARP struggled against the run.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's entirely possible. That's why we are sitting here talking on a Wednesday night, and they are coaching football.
And they are coaching. You're right. I am not the coach.
Speaking of that, let's roll on over to our polls, guys, and see how they shook out. As we have 6A, 5A coming up first. The polls, we're going to start with the bottom. Lufkin at 5, Texas High 4, White House 3, Tyler High 2, Longview 1. Thoughts, fellas?
I don't know if I just went and tried to pull mine up on the computer, and I don't think it's the ones that I did last week. So I'm not sure if it's saved or if that's what I wanted. I think I had White House at number 2, though, in my poll. I put them ahead of Tyler High because White House won and Tyler High lost. So I put them ahead of Tyler High. But other than that, that was really, I think, the only.
That might be the only change that I do too. Tyler White House number 2 and Tyler High number 3. I mean, I don't see a reason why White House can't be number 2.
The only thing I can think of is I might have had. I don't think Tyler High, they played well. I don't necessarily want to punish them, but I think maybe Texas High should have been higher, in my opinion. They haven't done anything to fall that far down, I don't think. And I think, of course, it'll all shake out when White House and Texas High play. But I might have flipped those at least to have Texas High up 1 spot to 3 over White House. But I mean, that's about the only thing I would have had flipped there. I think we've kind of had the same grouping in the polls. It'll be interesting to see once district starts. We'll have Tyler High has to play Longview, and Tyler High has to play Lufkin. White House will play Texas High, so this all could shake up. Eddie's upset. He says this is so wrong. This is not right at all. He says Texas High
wrong?
Is 2 all day long. He says. I mean, I don't.
They're 2.
Okay, so let's put it this way. Eddie. Your text. I'm gonna do a comparison of game. Texas High won over Legacy with a field goal at the very end of the game.
With a field goal.
Okay, they won by 3. Tyler High beat Legacy 28-14. They won by 2 touchdowns. So I don't know that, I know that's not the same. You're not playing each other, but it's a close.
That don't really sound wrong to me, Eddie.
so I could see Texas High 3 over White House.
Yeah,
but I don't see them.
I wouldn't put them over right now. No, I wouldn't put them over Tyler High. No,
but again,
and that's all we have to go off of. Really, is that game?
Tyler High's got a tough schedule ahead of them, so we'll see kind of how they are. And if Texas High keeps winning, they'll move up. He's saying they lost their QB in the first series of the game. Well, I mean,
who did? Who's he talking about?
I guess he's saying Texas High lost their QB. So I mean, it happened.
I mean, that's Hey, that happens. I'm not gonna give them number 2 because they lost. People got injured.
So if we'll say Jalen Hurts gets injured, okay, the Eagles are just going to forfeit the rest of their games because the number 1 quarterback gets hurt. No, they got to keep playing, right, Kyle?
Don't even put that in the atmosphere. Why would you say that? Why would you even put that out there?
I didn't want to
Not
say
really that, but that they should be in the playoffs just because
they have Jalen Hurts.
Because Jalen Hurts got hurt and now they don't have their quarterback.
Listen, Carson Wentz should have won the MVP in 2017 if he wouldn't have got hurt in Week 14. When Nick Foles came in and we went on the run, that was Carson Wentz's year to win MVP, but he got hurt.
Yeah, it happens. Right. All right.
It happens.
Let's look at 4A, guys. So week 5 of 4A. Number 10 is Brownsboro. 9 into the rankings is Sulphur Springs. The impressive wins that they've had so far. Lindale's at 8, Van at 7, Gilmer 6, Center 5, Kilgore 4, Pleasant Grove 3, Carthage 2, Chapel Hill 1. Not much change there. You got I think we all kind of agree about the top 6 for sure. I'm fine with Van there. I think they're fine. I think they beat Lindale, so having them above Lindale seems legit. What do you guys think? That's pretty solid, right? The other thing I think maybe Athens needs to be in there.
That I think I voted Athens in, but it didn't save it. That's what I'm saying. My 4A one's jacked up. My 4A one just took the week before. That my 4A one's jacked up. But I think I wanted to. I remember putting Athens in because I was impressed with what they did last week. So I think
Who do you take out? Who do you take out and put Athens in? Who's that?
The problem with that is, Kyle, and we can argue all day. Brownsboro's 10. They beat Athens week 1.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't hate.
Give me 7 through 10 again.
7 was Van, 8 Lindale, 9 Sulphur Springs, 10 Brownsboro.
Man,
I probably would have taken out Lindale.
Ooh.
Only because, hear me out. Only because if you're going to put those other teams in, Lindale's got a 2-3 record. If we want to go off records, Lindale's 2-3.
Yeah.
I mean, their losses are to.
Okay.
That's
a good point, though.
They've got 2 teams above them that they've lost to, which is Gilmer and Van.
Right.
And they also lost to
Pine Tree,
which is a 5A school,
which just lost to Marshall. So I mean, if I had to take one out and put one in, I would take Lindale out, put Athens in.
Christian says take Lindale out.
Okay.
We got Eddie says Athens is 10, which I mean you can debate that. Where is Bullard? Well, Bullard lost last week. Pretty bad to Carthage. They've dropped out of the poll.
I don't believe in Bullard.
Honestly, Bullard hasn't played anyone, and we kind of talked about this. I gave him a vote probably last week because the fact they hadn't lost, but they lost the game. They haven't beat anybody that was really good. So, in my opinion, they don't have any quality wins, you can say. And
so when you look at the top 10, the thing is, your issue with Bullard is that everybody else has at least one quality win here.
Yeah.
Except for Bullard.
Well, and here's this. Here's Bullard's got a chance. Okay. Brownsboro's in the top 10. They play in Brownsboro at some point. You got Van's in the top 10. They're going to play Van. Center's in the top 10. They're going to play Center. They've already lost the Cards. So they've got chances to earn quality wins.
They'll probably, if they win any of those games, they'll jump in. Don't get me wrong.
Bullard has the strongest strength of schedule. Is that total season? Like the whole season?
That must be district, though. That must be district, though, Eddie.
Because they played Maybank, Caddo, Quinlan, and Mineola.
That's not strong.
Yeah,
not a murderer's row.
As of right now, they haven't added up a quality win as of right now.
I get what he's saying, though. Sucks.
What Eddie's saying is that what Eddie's looking at is the entire schedule, and he's saying they got a stronger schedule. But we're talking about right now. If this is 2 weeks from now and they're still undefeated, okay, now they're in. Clearly.
Okay. Gavin says Bullard will finish 5th or 4th in district. 5th, I can see. I don't think they're cracking that top 4. I mean, it's going to take probably a bad outing.
We don't know what they are yet. I don't know. Yeah. I'll say I don't know what they are.
Because right now I'm ranking the teams. I'm ranking them Carthage, Center, Van, Rusk. But I mean, They're gonna have to beat one of those three.
They're gonna have to beat one of them. Yeah, they're gonna have to beat one of them.
So we'll see.
They already lost to Carthage, so yeah.
Maybank's 1-3, and that's who Bullard beat in week 1. So even and Mineola is what 2-3, I believe. Quinlan Ford, I don't see how they have the toughest. Van's schedule was harder in the preseason. Yeah, they're out of that same district. Center's schedule was harder in preseason. The Bullard strength of schedule thing doesn't make sense.
Bullard has never scheduled a really strong pre-district. That they want,
and maybe that's something they do next year. Maybe they next time they get an opportunity to change their schedule up. Maybe they do go after some tougher opponents, because you're going to have to do that in order to get the kind of respect you want, and you got a team that's winning, so there's nothing to fear right now. I think a couple of years ago they were struggling real bad. And I get it. You want to pick some opponents that are either on your level or below to kind of build the morale of the team. So I get that part of it. But now you're seeing, okay, clearly I can beat all of these teams. Let's step it up a little bit. So maybe they do change their schedule up next year.
Okay. The hardest one to pick for me is the 3A2A TAPS poll. Jefferson comes in at number 10. We have a tie at 8 for 8th with Hooks and Grace Community. Beckville at 7, Garrison at 6, Troop at 5, Dangerfield 4, Winsboro 3, Malakoff 2, Timpson 1. Thoughts, fellas?
I had voted Palestine Westwood at 10. I'm impressed with what they're doing this season. They are undefeated, I believe, so far in the season. So I put Westwood in. Yeah, they're 4-0. So I put Westwood in at 10. I had Garrison a little higher at 7, but overall, the top 5 is basically the same. Kind of mismatched around for me. But yeah, there's so many teams in this. There's so many teams in this group.
And see, I like Beckville so much. I'd like to move Beckville up, but then when you think about who you're going to put them over, it's just.
I had them at 4 in mine.
Yeah, like it's such a tight race. Like wherever they fall is where they fall, and wherever the dominoes land, they land. And I'm just gonna let it be what it is, because you could almost argue any of these teams being in that top 3, almost, or top 5. I'll say you could argue any team to be in the top 5. Everybody outside of the top 3 should be tied for 4th. Pretty much.
You got Timpson, Malakoff, Winsboro, I think, are
they solid. They pretty solid, but everybody else, they could be 4th, tied for 4th.
Yeah, I think honestly, it's Troop. I think is earned the spot where they're at. Dangerfield.
Yeah,
they've scheduled a really hard schedule, and they've played competitively. They played Center very close, a 4A Division II team. They also played Timpson very well. They're 2A, but we know how good Timpson is. So I understand that one. You could definitely flip some of those around, but a team I like that didn't get much love is West Rusk. I think now I'm impressed with West Rusk now. I don't think they're at the poll level yet, but I could see them getting a couple of wins and getting some momentum and moving back up in there.
If they run through the district, yeah. But there's, like we were saying, there's so many teams in this group that it's hard to break into that top 10 without one of those teams in the top 10 losing. You're not going to take somebody out if they win. So how it's going to be so hard they're going to have to win impressively. It's almost like the BCS system back in NCAA. You're going to have to blow some people out and run up scores in order to look more impressive to get into the poll, because there's just so many good teams. Like
Winsboro, they play. They're in the district with Pottsboro, I believe. They're a good team, so that'll be
they got a tough one this week with Commerce. Commerce is 5-0.
Commerce is 5-0 undefeated.
It's gonna be a tough one.
So Timpson will play Garrison at some point. They're in the same district.
That'll be a good
game. As good as Garrison's defenses look this year, it'll be interesting to see what they do against Terry Bussey and company. Jefferson, I mean, I was going to think Jefferson, Atlanta, Tatum, that district. I don't think that's as strong as we thought it was going to be.
No.
And I think Jefferson now, I think they have an easier path than maybe what we thought. So they could run up some wins.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many teams in this area.
Yeah, that district with Jefferson is, it's not good. Atlanta, Gladewater, Jefferson, Sabine, Tatum, and White Oak.
Sabine's looking at being a playoff team. That would be a big for their program.
I think they could probably be maybe a 2 or 3, maybe a 2 for sure, probably a 3, but maybe a 2. They can beat either Atlanta or Jefferson, I think.
Yeah. So, I think this poll's tough, but I think you got to be a thoroughbred to get in this poll. So
out of the top ones in that poll, how many losses did the top 5 have?
Well, Timpson's got 0, Malakoff's got 0, Winsboro's got 0, Group has 0,
no losses.
has 2, and they were to Timpson
losses. Yeah,
Timpson and Center. Mm-hmm. Center's ranked in our 4A poll. Timpson's number 1 of this poll, so we really can't punt. And they were competitive losses, like you talked about, Kyle. It wasn't like they just got blown out.
I'm saying that to say that's just the top 5. So it's that hard to just get in the top 5. Getting the top 10 is going to be even. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to do. I have to do full transparency. I do the Red Zone top 10 each week. So when you see the Red Zone top 10 posted, that's really my collaboration with maybe 1 or 2 other people. Anyway, that's tough to do too because
that's everybody, right? I mean, you can't even lose. You can only lose a game in that one.
Yeah, that's top 10 from 6A down. So that is the toughest one to do because it's tough, but it's easier too. Like, I mean, if you win, you stay in. You lose, you drop out.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Kyle, where are you going to be this week?
I am doing double duty this Friday night. I'm going to, at 7:00, Mineola and Pottsboro kickoff in Mineola at Meredith Memorial. So I'll be out there to shoot probably about a quarter of highlights for that game and then head on over to Eagle Stadium in Lindale, shoot some highlights up to halftime of Lindale and Athens. So a couple of good games this Friday night.
Oh, double duty, Kyle. I like it.
And I'll be on Red Zone Overtime at 11:05 on East Texas Now.
Yeah, that's our TV star here, Mr. Right. Red Zone. Ben, you have the week off. What are you doing on Friday night?
Man, I'm gonna spend some time with the family. I think we're gonna go out to the fair. Just enjoy some family time on a Friday, then I'll be back at it.
You can keep up with the games if you got that NetSN app.
I got the app, so I'll keep up with what's on, what's going on. So, is Center playing this week?
Yes, Center.
They off too?
Games on NetSN. They're hosting Rusk this week, so that's a big
good one.
That's a big district matchup. We'll have it right here on NetSN. I'll be traveling to Palestine. Me and Mike D will be on the call for that one as Palestine or Chapel Hill travels to Palestine. That game will be on Texan Live and also the audio only version here on NetSN. So that's where I'll be. Chapel Hill looking to get off to a better start. They've struggled with Palestine the last 2 years with starts. They've let them get ahead, and I'm sure that's been mentioned numerous times.
Wasn't last year's Palestine game played at like 2:00 in the afternoon?
Yes,
there was the one.
The lights. We had light trouble in the stadium, and we streamed the game on our YouTube channel. Got permission because there was no lights in the stadium. Yeah, it was an afternoon game. Christian says 3 split screens: Chapel Hill, Carthage, and Sock. Watching all 3 games.
Ain't mad at that.
That sounds like something our man Corey would be doing. He usually has his TV split and watching a bunch of games. So I'm sure he'll be catching all the action. That's going to do it, guys. What is there a big game that the one game this week that you're looking forward to as far as matchup goes?
There's a couple of them. I talked a lot about Lindale Athens. That's the one that I think I'm really looking forward to. I'm also going to have an eye on Alba Golden Honey Grove because of some history in Alba Golden that they love me over there. And they're undefeated. Honey Grove's undefeated. It's time to see if the Alba Golden Panthers are for real. We're about to find out Friday night. So I'll be keeping an eye on that game too. But Lindale Athens, Center Rusk, those games are the ones I'll be keeping an eye on.
Okay. Vince?
He picked a good one with that Lindell Athens. I'm gonna say I'm interested to see this Edgewood Grand Saline game.
You stole my game. Oh,
because I'm like I said, I work with somebody who has connections to Edgewood. They live out there and stuff, and they're big about Edgewood and stuff. And they've been talking to me about the defense that Edgewood has and the linebackers that they have. So I want to see what they're about. They were a good team last year, so this is going to be a challenge for them. I mean, I think Grand Saline is like, they're 3-2. They're 3-2. So
well, another thing, Vince, that Edgewood and Grand Saline, huge rivalry game. Huge rivalry game. They do not like.
See, I didn't even know they were rivals. I didn't even know that part.
Yeah, they do not. They're about 10 miles apart. I'm looking forward to. And Edgewood
I stole that one.
And the Winona game, I found out that Edgewood had 4 turnovers, 4 picks in that game, which probably
that'll do it.
Why they got beat the way they did.
All right, so games I'm looking for, since Vince stole one of my, I found another one, so I got a couple here. I'm looking forward to one comment, Winsboro Commerce. Is Commerce the real deal? Can they compete with the Finneys at Winsboro? I don't think so, but we'll see. It'll be a big test. 2 5-0 teams. Another one I'm looking forward to is the Harmony New Diana game. New Diana coming in at 5-0, Harmony 3-2. Harmony's got some injuries. Is New Diana for real? We'll find out and see if they're able to compete with Harmony. Those are 2 games that I'm looking forward to.
I forgot about that one. That's a good one. Yeah, I forgot about that one.
Now, this week's pick 'em. Make sure you get all your picks in. It's a tough one this week. We've got a lot of schools on buys, so there's some really good small ball games out there, and we've got a lot of them in there. So make sure you pick and do your research, write it all down, or maybe you don't trust your gut. If the event says don't trust your gut, so maybe you don't trust your gut. Just go with what you're thinking.
Not mine anyway.
But make sure you get all those picks in. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. For Kyle and Vince, I'm Bret. We'll see you next week right here on the Weekly Wrap-Up Show. Enjoy your football this weekend. Night, everybody.
Peace.
Is your demanding work lifestyle in need of fire-resistant clothing that can keep up? Well, L4FR clothing should be your go-to for quality, affordability, safety, and style. L4FR was founded by a third-generation oil field worker who is also a veteran. Thus, this company has a deep appreciation for reliability and longevity, all while we provide first-rate customer service. Our durable apparel will serve you well for many years to come, whether you're working on a pipeline, a lineman climbing utility poles, or in any other environment requiring fire-resistant apparel. L4FR has you covered. Our apparel is tough enough to resist hazardous conditions while still providing high comfort and style. L4FR provides clothing options to ensure your safety and comfort, whether you're on the job or not. To view our complete inventory of flame-resistant garments, please visit our online store at l4frclothing.com or give us a call at 817-757-4935. Si habla español.
Struggling with mobility, chronic pain, work, or sports injury? At Azalea Orthopedics, our team of highly trained physicians specialize in complete orthopedic care, pain management, sports medicine, physical medicine, and rehabilitation. If you've sustained a bone or joint injury, have mobility or movement problems, struggle with pain, contact Azalea Orthopedics. We're conveniently located across East Texas, serving 18 counties. When visiting your doctor, urgent care, or hospital, you have a choice. Demand Azalea. At Azalea Orthopedics, your health is our priority.